Hello YouTube, Proxy here. It's been a while, but today I'm going to be talking about Atlas, what this game is, as well as a few details surrounding the game. So Atlas will primarily be a survival MMO, which puts this game in direct competition with Amazon's New World. Now these games do have RPG elements as well, but survival or Sandbox seems to fit the bill more correctly as to what these games are. Don't go into these games expecting the usual MMO RPG tropes, think of them more as games like Rust or Ark with a larger amount of players, with some MMO RPG-like features such as quests thrown in on top. And then you somewhat have the right idea of what to expect. Now when I heard the developers of Ark were making an MMO, I had almost instant flashbacks of Dark and Light, and how that game also promised to be an MMO RPG. Turned out it was a 70-person server survival game. And here we have a game promising similar concepts, 40,000 player worlds, 45,000 square kilometer map, an MMO RPG-like features, and how much of this will be true will be seen in the upcoming days. So at first I was extremely skeptical and somewhat worried that Snail, a publisher I have somewhat of a distaste for, might be involved in the production of the game, as Snail owns Wildcard Studios. Now when you look at the Steam page, there is no mention of Wildcard Studios or Snail, however it does mention Grape Shot Studios, who are effectively a sister studio of Wildcard, which ultimately means Snail is affiliated with this game. I'm just hoping that Snail has little to no involvement with the game or its monetization. Anyway, with that out of the way, I want to talk about the game's upcoming features next, and I think we'll start with the server setup first. So one of the main advertising points of this game has been aggressively advertising a 40,000 concurrent player world. Now I feel this game was made for the purpose of competing with Amazon's New World. Amazon making a survival MMO that has thousands of players playing a survival game is a pretty big threat to Ark, Rust and similar games. And I feel that Atlas is Wildcard and Instinct Studios' response to New World's ambition of being the largest player-based survival game. The developers of Wildcard claim that it will be somewhat a mashup of EVE Online meets Ark, and that they are taking everything they loved about Ark and putting it into the largest game world ever for an action-based MMO. That's quite the claim, one that New World has been touting merely a few months ago. But will Atlas actually have this many concurrent players in one world? Well, there is some smoke and mirrors here, because they are supposedly stitching multiple Ark-like maps together using grid-based technology. Darkfall, for example, used a grid-based loading technology to support their MMO world, but Wildcard claims to have innovated this concept, allowing fixed amount of players per grid square over a 45,000 square kilometer map. And this is quite different from what Amazon is doing, as New World is using the AWS, their cloud-based server farms, to support any amount of players on a vast map with no player limitation except for the total concurrent population, which might be lower than Atlas by a fair amount. This effectively means Atlas might end up with a higher concurrent population in total, but you will only ever see a limited amount of players in one given area. Although this might be a good thing, as it might counter Zerging and Mega Alliances to a lesser degree. I'm actually somewhat skeptical on how well this will run as well, because as far as I know they haven't actually done a test with 40,000 real world clients connected. And being that the game is also going to be in early access for over 2 entire years suggests that the first public iterations are most likely going to be quite laggy and buggy. On top of this, if too many people enter a single grid square on the map, Atlas can lock off these players from entering. Even games like EVE Online will have to off a node and reinforce it, and cause time dilation to handle all the data being processed. So while Atlas totes that 40,000 players on one globe, it's not quite the reality of things, as it's more like multiple Ark servers stitched together to form a globe, with player zone limitations on top. There will be 2 servers for every supported region, Europe, North America, etc, one for PvE and one for PvP as well. At the time of making this video there has been no mention of what type of servers they will be using either. And within this 45,000 square kilometer map there will be 700 unique land masses with thousands of discovery zones, which will also be split into 10 distinct regions with their own unique resources, creatures, secrets and environments. Okay, so let's move on to talking about the game's features. When you enter the game, you will be dropped into a level capped starter zone, which allows you to learn the ropes of the game, effectively being a safe space until you're ready to venture out into the big bad world. And I'm kinda glad that these areas will be level capped personally, because otherwise you'd just have people living out them indefinitely. But when you are ready to move out, you will be requiring a ship. Now the theme of this game is primarily a pirate/colonial age, similar once again to New World, and while New World takes on a much darker tone, it seems Atlas wants to go slightly different in direction and involve a Pirates of the Caribbean aesthetic, and oodles of high fantasy and steampunkish oddities to boot. For example, Airship Spotted. So yeah, what kind of pirate game would this be without ships? And you can build a dry dock, build anything you want from a rowboat to a mega galleon and everything in between, with highly customizable features from naming a ship, painting, custom flags, logos, sail placements, weight distribution, gunport locations and materials to make it from. Very cool for the wannabe shipwright. There is even the ability to build on top of the ship itself, much like you could put structures on the top of dinosaurs in Ark. You can build quite a bit on top of the ships where you could put a small house, a base and even a tower. Alongside this, you can either get your friends to help you crew your big ship, or if you're a complete loner, you can hire some AI NPCs to assist you and operate all your ship's cannons and change the various types of ammo as well. Feel like ramming an enemy ship? No problem, your AI crew will be able to board their ships as well, and you will have the ability to assign tasks to crewmates with various permissions. Though bear in mind, if you do not sufficiently pay your crew, they can mutiny and rally against you, so be careful of that. Also to note, this is a full loot game. Everything can be taken, stolen, looted, including player-made ships, fortresses and pets. For those that wish to not have any of those features, you might be able to avert some of them by rolling onto the PvE server. Now while this is an MMO survival game, very similar to Ark, they have made stats system a little bit more RPG-like, with the ability to acquire feats, multiple progression paths and more RPG-like gear. This does mean however that the PvP gear and level could be way more important than actual skill, something to bear in mind. On top of this, Atlas does contain more survival elements than usual. Not only will you have to eat and drink a lot, you might have to worry about vitamin deficiencies. Basically, this is Atlas's way of saying that you can get scurvy like a real pirate. If you played Ark, then you can pretty much expect a similar experience when using the character creation tools, including dynamic hair growth and aging systems. One new addition though is the ability to add pixel by pixel tattoos and war paints, though I wonder how long it will be until the unwanted tattoos flood the game, causing an uproar. My bet is day one. Atlas will contain some MMO RPG-like quests and subquests with waypoint systems, as well as offer procedural treasure map locations and challenging zones, giving the player dynamic content to do. However, the developers have said not to expect as many quests that you might get in a conventional MMO. Now you ask, but Proxy, what about the action combat? Well, it's most likely going to be quite similar to what you get in Ark, with a few new additions such as directional attacks, but generally it's not going to be much more than you get with the average survival game like Conan Exiles, Ark, Rust, etc, etc. But there will be unique gear and weapons to this era, such as muskets, blunderbusses. If anything, it should be an improvement on what most survival games offer, but we will have to see what it's like in game to see how it feels, I guess. So what about building, Proxy? This is a sandbox game, right? Yep, it's a sandbox for sure, with all the building tools you know and love from Ark, but have been completely improved and revamped for Atlas. This includes better snap detection, integrated plumbing systems, as well as better material swapping. On top of this, building systems, there will be some basic land ownership and government systems in place to allow players or companies to claim land. Once this is established, the owners of the land will be able to set taxation rates that automatically take a portion of all earned materials and money earned within the borders. So for big guilds or companies, not only would it be important to dominate larger portions of the world, but also allow players to harvest and farm resources there. And this is a slightly different way of doing things for most games because it encourages big guilds not to grief smaller players, as they will want their taxed income. And of course it wouldn't be an Ark-like game if it didn't have taming, capturing creatures and breeding them and training them and trading them, are all core features of this game. It's the pirate Pokemon game you've always wanted. The game will have around 50 creatures at launch, from shoulder-mounted parrots and monkeys to mermaids which inhabit various different zones. These pets can be used for multiple tasks, and beasts of burden can be used to move around caravans, cargo and field guns. Just like Ark, this game will support modding and private servers, however they will be unable to connect to the main globe for various reasons. Still, it provides a chance for private communities to grow and even rebalance the game on their own terms if they wish to do so. And once again, just like during Ark's early access, there are plans to add much more to the game, including a tarot-based card magic system, being able to breed with your fellow players, and even having children. It's kind of off the wall, but it certainly does seem that this game will have quite a few years of developer support going ahead. The developers have also said they will not be releasing any DLC during the early access period at all, so that's good 2 years of no actual DLC content being tagged on at top, if they keep their word. So what do I think about Atlas? Well, I do have some major concerns about how Wildcard has managed its interactions with the community and some of their past decisions as well, especially in regards to certain expansions releasing before the game was even out of early access. Then there are claims that Atlas will be better optimized than their earlier games, but then again, nearly every company claims this these days. And then there's the fact that Wildcard is actually still owned by Snail Games, which honestly puts me off quite a lot, especially as they have tried to hide this fact on their Steam page. Despite this, I still think this game is worth checking out and giving a try. There is a good chance that the 2-year early access for this game is going to be an incredibly bumpy ride with lots of good things and lots of bad things occurring along the way. Atlas will be launching this game with a $30 price tag on the 19th of December and eventually raising it to $60 post-release. Also to note, this game is considered early access, so you won't be able to preload the game. The game itself will be over 100 gig download, so for those with slow connections, you might want to seek out some alternative plans for downloading. Now, I think the MMO genre has been stale for quite some time, and I think games like New World and Atlas are something the genre needs to diversify it from the usual theme park MMO design we have been force-fed for years. And I'm hopeful games like Atlas can inspire other game developers that the industry needs some fresh ideas and some innovation. An MMO version of Ark with pirates, high fantasy creatures and lashings of steampunk actually sounds like something I could get my teeth into right now. So I will be playing Atlas on the 19th and streaming it on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/deathsproxyuk, unless they delay it again. My guild has chosen to get involved and we should be entering the game with a well-established gaming group of at least 50 people on the North American PvP servers. If you wish to get involved in helping forge our empire, hit me up on my own personal Discord, which I will link below. It's one of the few games releasing that isn't a battle royale and actually allows some of you guys to come hang out with me at some point, so hopefully we can meet up in game if you guys do decide to play. Worst case scenario, Steam refunds exist. I'm so bored looking for an MMORPG to play, I might end up sticking with this one for a while even if it's subpar. I mean, if this game is in fact an MMO version of Ark, I can honestly see it keeping my attention for quite some time. Also, before we end this video, let's talk about the community discords briefly. There are currently 2 discords running at the moment, one being the official Atlas Discord which has its developers on it as well as a dedicated staff team to moderate it. For those of you with more of a thick skin and can handle somewhat of a more aggressive atmosphere, then there is an unofficial Discord you can participate in. You can find links to both in the comments and description below. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my content. It's been a while since I uploaded, but hopefully over Christmas I will have more time to pump out some content, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a funny comment below mocking my British accent, and as always guys, thanks for watching.